I've been working since I'm 13 years old.
Wow.
My first pay with my grandfather's shop was 65 cents an hour. So I don't have a job description. I roll up my sleeves, I get the job done however I can.
Hi, Frank. Thank you so much
My
for
pleasure.
being able to sit here and accept this interview.
Thank you. I'm
It's so
honored to be asked.
it's so good to have you, Frank. First of all, I want you to introduce yourself to the audience for those who don't know you yet, about who you are and everything about you, if you want to share a little bit.
Hi, my name is Frank Desiderio, founding member of the law firm Grunfeld, Desiderio, Lebowitz, Silverman, and Claystat. We specialize in customs and international trade matters. We represent clients in negotiating these tariffs, minimizing the pain of the tariffs, keeping companies in compliance with the federal regulations, and get them out of trouble when they find their way in without us.
Wow. He just told you what he does, but I have heard a lot of amazing things about this man. And if you don't mind, you can tell people how old you are because I think that's so awesome that
Okay.
I'm sitting with such a wise man next to me who has so much experience. So
Yesterday, I celebrated my 78th birthday.
can we
So
all
I'm
say happy birthday? 3, 2, 1. Happy birthday. That's great. That's great. So, Frank, I want to start from first of all, how did you get into this, what you do?
Okay,
Yeah.
that's an interesting story. When I was graduating from law school, the Department of Justice recruited me to try cases in the Customs Court, which is now the Court of International Trade. So for the first 4 years of my career, I spent litigating in those courts, Court of Appeals to the Federal Circuit and the Court of International Trade. And I found it interesting. It wasn't my first pick. I didn't know anything about customs law when I joined the Department of Justice. After 4 years, I left the government and joined with several of my partners, now current partners, colleagues at the time, and we formed the firm. At this point in time, we're about 50 lawyers. When we started, there were 4 lawyers. So it's been an interesting journey.
Wow. I've heard that you're one of the best ones in at least New York, right? Or the United States. I've just heard something, so
Okay.
you can clarify
I'll
that.
settle for New York, but the firm does have offices in New York, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C., of course.
Wow. So, Frank, I'm going to ask you, starting from your leadership journey, because I'm very passionate about leadership and I believe you're an amazing leader. By looking at your journey, that you have built something from nothing now is so big and you have so many people under you, you have to really lead them and guide them. So, what do you believe is a true leadership, like thought leaders? What does it mean to you?
That's interesting. That's a question I didn't expect, but I think leadership means about mentoring young people and learning from young people. It's a two-way process, and I very much enjoy mentoring our young lawyers. We have a number of them, and we have a wide variety of sizes, shapes, countries they come from. And I still enjoy it at age 76, 78, I said.
78.
I made myself younger.
Well, it's just a number anyway. So thank you. The next question I have for you is, I know there's so many stories in your life. It's really fantastic. But I'm going to ask a few different versions. So number one version, I want you to share one of the story that really is like a turning point in your life. I mean, there's a lot of turning points, of course, but if you have to pick the one signature story that in your life you find is fascinating, it's really the time that transformed who you were to who you are becoming, what would this story be?
Interesting. I've been working since I'm 13 years old.
Wow.
I delivered newspapers. I
Wow.
loaded trucks for UPS. I worked for my grandfather, who had a men's clothing store in Brooklyn. And I'm old, but not that old. My first pay with my grandfather's shop was 65 cents an hour.
Wow.
And my grandfather wanted me to catch the dust before it fell. So if there was a customer in the store, I sold him a tie. If there were no customers in the store, I mopped the floor. If there were no, the floor was done, I swept the vestibule. I even learned calligraphy to write the sale tickets in the display windows. And of course, every day I came home to the store from school, and I said to my grandfather, "What is this, the depression? 65 cents an hour. My friends are making $2 an hour delivering for the grocery store and
That's
making
funny.
another dollar in tips." And he said, "You know, you should pay me for the education you're getting here.
Wow.
And that probably is perhaps one of the most
Wow.
formative pieces of advice
a
that I
big-
received. So I don't have a job description. I roll up my sleeves. I get the job done however I can, legally. And I guess that was probably the most important piece of information I received as a young man.
Wow. That was amazing. I just want to reflect what Frank just shared because so many people, especially nowadays, they pay attention to the quick win. They thinking, so what's it for me? If they are offered with an opportunity, it's like, what's for me from there? But they forgot that for them, it's not just about money. For them, the way more important things about the education, the mentorship, and the experience, everything. Because when they go through that, it will build them to become who they even never expect they can become. But then some people, they like, I would assume those who got paid $2, I don't know where they are now. Who knows?
That's a good question. Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely. Well, I'm pretty pleased with where I am, and it has been a long journey, but I like again mentoring young people, and my message to them is, don't let anybody tell you you can't do something. You know, within the scope of the law, of course, but don't tell anybody, accept any word that somebody can't be something because he's a woman or because he's from this country or that country and so on.
Yeah.
And you just have to keep forging ahead, and there'll be many roadblocks in the way, but you have to learn how to be flexible and circumvent. And, I think the most important thing is to have a plan, and that plan will change 1,000 times
Exactly.
over the years, and you have to figure out how to, modify your plan
Yes.
in accordance with the
Yes.
reality of the world.
Yes. I love what you say. And when I was chatting with other CEOs, I always say to them, you need to have the goal. Don't change the goal because you have a desire, you have a dream. You can change so many times about your plans because if plan A doesn't work, B, C, D, E, F, G, you never give up. Because if you keep changing your goal, you never get there.
I agree.
Yeah, that's
I agree.
great. So I also want to know, Frank, in your story, what would be the most challenging time in your life? I mean, there's a lot of times, I guess, and I've heard a little bit about the story, which I don't know if you're gonna share that story, but it was so interesting, but it's also fascinating, like movies. So, if you can pick at least, if you can share at least 3 stories quickly, that'd be really awesome. Like challenging moments, and then how you conquered them. Yeah.
Well, okay, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I wasn't really prepared for that, but I'll do my best. Well, I graduated at the top of my law school class. I was recruited by the Department of Justice. At that time in New York and the United States, there were a lot of large law firms that wouldn't interview me because I have an Italian surname.
So it's like racist stuff because they say you're not local, that you're from
No, because it was an ethnic thing. They didn't want Italian surnames in the firm. So the firms were 100 years old.
They're quite traditional.
Quite traditional,
Yeah.
managed by lawyers from Harvard and Yale and Princeton and all of that.
I see.
And they didn't really, a working class kid to be part of their formula or part of their program. And so I could have crawled into a corner and cried about that. But, I guess I just found my way. And I've been very fortunate. And a lot of people have been very kind to me over the years. But that was, I think, the biggest challenge for me. And people, when I tell people about that prejudice that exists, it wasn't crushing to me. It wasn't the most awful prejudice that was existence in the United States at that particular point in time, but it was enough to keep me out of some of areas that I probably would have sought out. The moral of the story is all those firms are out of business.
Yeah.
Because they decided they want to have one type of person in their firm. We have a very diverse firm.
Exactly.
And it's not because we had a plan and not because there was any legal program, because we hired the best people possible. And whether they were tall, short, male, female, Italian, Asian, didn't make any difference. If they had the qualifications, wanted to roll up their sleeves and work, they had a job.
To conclude that, I've heard about the first challenging is definitely the name. Like you have an Italian name, they just reject you. But never take no as an answer.
Absolutely.
Find your way and to get what you want to get. And okay, you nowadays you're like famous lawyer. At least in this logistics industry, people, the big guys and giant guys, what I'm told that they're looking for you. Like Yeah.
Well, I'm very flattered. That happens to be true. It's a very difficult time in the world trade scene. Tariffs in the United States have been changing rapidly. The thing I'm most flattered about is I get calls from pretty much every time zone for help. And I'm always kind of saying, you sure you have the right person? Why are you calling me? And the reality is that, I and my firm have developed quite a reputation in the area. And we're focused on this exclusively for 50 years. So, we pretty much know what we're doing and we're able to help so many companies, small and large. Yeah. I guess that's one of my most proud.
Yeah, that's amazing. This is my next question, right? Your most proud stuff, but I want to go a little bit deeper. If you can share, I don't know if it's safe for you to share the company name, but can you share one story that you're really proud that how much you saved that company? If it's safe, do so. But if it's not, you can just use a.
There are many stories.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you one of the most recent ones.
Yeah.
Classification of footwear in the United States and the U.S. tariff is very complicated. And I came, very large company, a very prominent luxury goods company, came to me with a pair of shoes, and they were kind of running shoes, sports shoes, but they sell for $1,200 a pair in the United States. So they were importing that product. They're paying 37.5% duty.
Yeah.
And I looked at the shoe, and the construction suggested to me that there was a more appropriate tariff provision, and that was at 10%.
Okay.
So I went to one of my partners, who's
Yes.
a real expert in footwear, and we kind of came up with a strategy.
Yeah.
We sent the shoe to a lab. We went to customs and got a ruling in favor of the 10% provision.
Okay.
And within 3 months, we obtained a $6 million refund for the client.
Wow, that was amazing. What a story.
We do that frequently. And, because of what we do, if we help clients structure and design their import-export program,
Yes.
that's something that continues to work unless the law
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, guys, if you are looking for someone who can help you save another 6 million or more than that,
Or
because
6,000.
yeah, it's or something you can save and actually save the life. It's a reputation, and it's really not easy. I mean, it sounds very simple and you get just fix it, but because you have the experience and in your mind you're used to solve problems. And then usually people say, "Oh, it's too hard. No way I can do it." When your mind is blocked, you're not gonna look for anyway. But I can tell everything comes to you, just you're very calm and just say, "Yep, give me 1 second," and then you come up with an idea, and then you just sort it out. 6 million just with one idea, which
With
is
one idea and the support of my partner and other workers in the firm to, once you arrive at that conclusion, it takes a lot of work and effort to get the money back from the government.
Yeah. Wow. So one other thing I want to ask, I think you're famous. I know you are very humble, such a humble man, but maybe you can share with us what other well-known people that you have been like even knowing each other or deal with or help them, whatever, just if you share something, because I think your grandkids or your children would love to hear about this, right? I mean, you probably say that's okay, they're just normal humans, like I don't have to boast talking about it, but I would like to know if you don't mind to share.
One of my most proud accomplishments is the fact that I'm the vice chair of the board of trustees of John Cabot University in Rome.
Okay.
So it's an American university based in Rome. And I've been asked and served as the vice chair for about 15 years. And through that connection in Italy, where I had previously no connections other than my clients.
Exactly.
So I've got to meet the Prime Minister of Italy. I've met university presidents. I've met fashion companies that have known me before.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of fun. And in the United States, I do the same thing. I work closely with the Italian Consul General, but with the French American Chamber of Commerce, the Italo-American Chamber of Commerce.
Wow.
I guess I really like telling stories and meeting new people.
Yes, that's good. Which is why I'm really amazed that you flew all the way from US to Vietnam. Right now we're in Vietnam, just to clarify. And what drives you with still so much passion? Like we said, age for me, I don't believe age is a problem, but to many people it is a problem, right? So if you need to encourage them and say to them, just share with them what's your mindset. How does it drive you?
I've been lucky enough to find something that I like to do. It's enabled me to learn a lot about people in the world. I've traveled all over the world, from Hong Kong to Brazil to Canada and so on. Always meeting new and different people, so that's quite an education.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that drives me. Of course, I'm interested in being here because of the collection of really important and talented companies and people that have been here. So far, the presentations have really been very special.
Yeah.
And I felt, even though I came alone with my wife, I
Yeah.
felt very welcome here by everybody I've met, and it's been a treat so far.
That's good.
And you're on top of the list.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And then to conclude what Frank just shared, I think it's number one, your passion, because if you're doing what you love, you don't feel you're working.
Exactly.
And you need it. Not that the work definitely needs you, but you need it too. You want to be there, right? And secondly is that people. You connect with people, you see new faces, and if you bring value, and they also bring value back to your life. So it's kind of relationship. We all need relationships, which is the thing that's driving us as well, which is great. Now I have another question. I know you're wealthy. I'm not well, usually to the young people, they need to look up to those who are wealthy, right? Because they want to be successful, they want to be wealthy. So if I give you 60 seconds, only 60 seconds, you give only one biggest advice in life. Or you can share two, as long as we're within 60 seconds, right? To the young people. So we can post that to social media. You know, they only want the 1 minute stuff that keeps flying. So let's go. What's your advice?
Well, it's kind of hard to come up with this in a short notice, but when I'm interviewing a young candidate for a lawyer in my firm, and they're asking, they're 25 years old, and they're asking me about the pension. What about the pension, and what about? And I said, you should be just asking me, how do I get to sit there? Because you won't have to worry about a pension if you follow the path that I've been fortunate enough to find. And I'm always curious here about a young person talking about a pension. I never dreamt of a pension. I was just happy to get a pair of Gucci shoes. That was my goal. And
Okay.
so it's been a long journey, and I guess that's the best advice that I can give is, don't think about what's going to happen when you're 78. Think about what's going to be happening during the course of that journey from 25 to 78. And if you're lucky enough to find something you like to do it and work hard at it, get better at it. And I found, well, first of all, I have to say, it's always, success always involves a lot of luck. But I found the people who get lucky are the people who work the hardest. And I guess that's probably my last comment on that subject.
Wow, thank you. I think that's 60 seconds. You did so well. Well, to conclude that, I also believe, I heard once from Jim Rohn, he said, profit is always better than wages. And people are more focused on how can I get paid and whatever. But in fact, if you focus more on the value, you can bring more value, the profit is unlimited. But if you only focus on the pension, like you said, pension is like, so what? You're ready to retire?
I'll tell you one last story.
Okay.
So when I started at the Department of Justice, I was a trial attorney and tried cases in the Court of International Trade. Our client was the Customs Bureau. So there were lawyers in the Customs Bureau, and we had to collaborate with them because they were our clients.
Yeah.
So I'm 25 years old, trying cases for the Justice Department, working with these more experienced and older lawyers. And one day I was talking to one of my colleagues in Customs, and I said, how you doing? He said, pretty well. I said, really? He said, yeah, 20 years, 3 months, 1 week, and 4 days. I said, to what? To retirement. I said, I gotta get out of here.
Really?
This is like the land of the living dead.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and that may have been, I hadn't planned to stay in the government for the long term anyhow. I had a 4-year commitment, which but the fact that somebody at my age or slightly older was concerned, counting the days to the end of his career.
I understand what you mean. I completely feel what you say because I've seen people like that too. And what I believe is every day is a gift. Like if you enjoy every day, you don't need to worry about what's gonna happen the day after, whatever, right? And I think to align with the story you shared earlier, the guys asking about pension is because they want a security. That means they don't want to work harder. They don't want to push themselves because the only way to get better is you need to push yourself. You need to break the boundaries. You need to be uncomfortable because we all want to find the comfort. But the comfort is actually the biggest enemy for us. That's what I believe. Because if you feel comfortable, you go to the gym, you don't have muscles. But when you're not comfortable, actually it's painful. You grow those pecs and muscles. So I really like the story. Thank you for sharing.
My pleasure.
Now, since you're a very successful business owner as well, would you please give like top 3 business advice, especially when they're running a company for the small, medium size particularly, right? What would be your biggest advice with them?
The first thing is surround yourself with smart and hardworking people. Many of the young people that work for me are smarter than I am, went to better schools than I am. And I teach them as I can, and they teach me quite a lot. The other thing is to invest in the business, in the necessary equipment. I mean, when I started it, now I'm going to really sound old. When I started at the Department of Justice, we had 28 attorneys in the section and 1 computer. And the computer had a memory base of 3 pages.
Wow.
So if you can imagine rewriting a brief after you've decided point 1 should be where point 2 is.
Wow.
So it all be retyped and so on. Now today you have a different world. You have a lot of electronic assistance, high tech, and you have to invest in that. So the people who are not willing to do that are not going to succeed.
True.
And I guess the last story is to, to be kind to the people you work with, encourage them to succeed with you or when they leave you, if they leave you.
Exactly.
And I guess that's it.
Wow. I know now the reason why you're successful because when you invest in people, you're not just thinking for yourself. When you think for them, they think for you, and you have the same goal. You want it to be better together, which is mutual synergies. I think that's how you build up your company from just yourself to a few people, then the whole amazing, like everywhere in US right now, and even you're coaching and mentoring those people overseas as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Now, what is the biggest mistake? I mean, you already shared the advice about those owners, but what's the biggest mistake that you've seen through those business owners that they continually repeating? Like, what's the biggest one? That's the killer, and tell them what should be the right way.
Probably the biggest mistake I've made is not working hard in school. I started out in a Catholic school. Nuns were teaching me. Went to high school with brothers. Went to St. John's University, St. John's Law School. And until I got into law school, I really was coasting. And I really didn't get the benefit that I could have obtained from those great schools. So I think that that's probably the biggest mistake I made as a young man.
If you have a choice, if you can go back, you will.
If I could go back, I would work harder and learn more and perhaps wind up in the same place or not. I don't know.
You never know. But that's starting at age 13. That was really amazing. That was impressive. Everybody's like, wow. They were like in awe. Like, how did you do that, right? Do you believe you have already the gift of entrepreneur in you? Like
Oh,
you have
yes.
an entrepreneur version of you that's driving you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I saw early on, meeting people in the community, that people who own their own businesses and ran their own businesses were more successful financially, and in most cases, happy in their family life and so on. And you got to blend everything to get there. But that's about the best I can do on that.
It's amazing. So maybe talk a little bit about your children, your grandchildren. Like I know, maybe keep secret, but let's talk about your grandchildren because it's so
Okay,
cute.
okay.
They're cute, right?
All right.
Just if you speak to them right now, if they're watching, so what would you tell them about advice for the future? Particularly for me, I'm passionate about younger generations, and right now AI is crazy. It's going out of control. But you experienced from the beginning, like a very long time ago, with only one laptop or computer, to now you've been witnessed like so many different generations and different things. What will you share with them that they have to remember one day we're gonna be gone? What you want them to remember? Number one, about you.
Okay.
Secondly, what they need to remember so that it helps them to stay competitive or stay here stronger, better? What would be your advice?
Well, I have 4 grandchildren. The oldest is Sophia, a young lady. Her younger brother is Dylan. He's 8 years old. On my son's side, he has a boy named Matthew, who's very talented in the arts and music and interested in fashion even at age 12.
Yeah.
And my granddaughter, Olivia, who's a great athlete. She swims, she plays golf, she does all
Yeah.
those things at age
Wow.
8.
Well
I guess
done.
the first piece of advice I would give is listen to Grandpa. They, they don't call me Grandpa, they call me Nono, which is
No,
Italian.
Italian. Yeah,
for-
no. I know no.
My biggest piece of advice is experiment. You know, one of the things I have a difficulty doing is persuading them to do certain things.
Yes.
Whether it be go to the theater or the ballet or
Yes.
whatever. And usually when they try it out, sometimes they like it and sometimes they don't. But they
Of
have to
course.
experiment with these different things, and they shouldn't
Yes.
close any doors in their life.
Yes.
And you know, taste a little bit of everything. And you'll find something that you like to do and you're good at.
Yeah, no says that you need to keep trying, okay? Just be open-minded. Don't just say no at the beginning because you never try, you never know. Maybe you will become an expert, just like your no. He stepped into the law industry and he became so successful. That was some amazing advice. Now, the next question, which you haven't mentioned yet, is how do you want to be remembered when you're gone? What will you want people to remember you about?
That's a good question. You know, one of the many things that I'm proud of is the fact that I still have friends from grammar school, high school, college, and law school. And we maintain that network of friendship over many, many years. Sometimes we don't see each other for years, but we keep in touch. We're always there for one another. And I guess the thing I'd like best to be remembered for is, you know, working hard and starting at the bottom and winding up somewhere close to the top.
Wow.
And the last thing I must tell you, I have to give my wife the credit
Yes.
for a lot of my success.
Yes.
Because she was the home front. She was home taking care of the children. You know, she's a teacher. She has 2 master's degrees, and she's a great mother and even better grandmother.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm concerned, she was a major component of my success because I didn't have to look over my shoulder and see, you know, is things being cared for at home the way they should be.
Yes.
So it allowed me the luxury of traveling all around the world, meeting new people, getting interesting and exciting clients, working on interesting and exciting projects. So just being a team member. A leader is nice, but being part of a team is a real blessing.
Amazing. Wow, happy wife, happy life. And since you mentioned about your wife, see, I'm gonna keep you here forever because you have so much wisdom. But we're gonna finish it soon, I guarantee. So, since you mentioned about your wife, and especially for younger generations, I know that when I'm talking to them, there are 2 groups of people. One, they are scared of getting married. They're scared of marriage. They think it's kind of like prison or that kind of stuff. But the other group, they actually married really fast, right? They go in there, but then they are lacking commitment, right? They might not stay together. So for those who haven't got married or who haven't even found someone they're gonna get married, can you give them advice what they shouldn't be doing so that they find the right partner? What's your advice to
Okay,
them?
well, should I start with
Yeah.
how I met my wife?
Yes, sure.
So I was going to high school, was working in my grandfather's store after work, and I was always in trouble. So I had to stay an hour after school every day.
Okay.
Detention.
What did you do?
You know, there was such a strict school, I didn't have to do anything good.
Okay,
You know,
to be in trouble.
I just had to, my pants were too tight or my hair was too long.
Not moving.
Whatever it was.
Everything's wrong.
It was pretty benign, but I was not necessarily following the rules that they had in mind. So I would leave my high school an hour after everybody left.
Okay.
And then I'd walk to my after school job at my grandfather's.
Okay.
And her house was right between high school and my after school job. So I met her when I was 16. She was 15. I would walk past the house, there were a bunch of cute little girls there. Can you say girls? No, I'm not sure. And through her cousin, we were introduced, and so we just celebrated our 53rd anniversary.
Congratulations, that's so sweet, 53 years.
And we dated for 8 years before that.
3 years.
8 years before that.
8 years.
Yes,
Then you
because-
got married.
Then we got
Oh,
married.
because you're high school. You're
I was
already
in high
dating.
school, so I had to get
Yeah,
through my
you have to
education.
wait.
So
Can't rush.
So you know, I guess in terms of that type of the relationship, it's work on both sides. I'm certainly less than perfect, although I tell my wife I'm perfect every day, and she's been very patient. And you know, there are bumps along the way in your life and your career, and you just have to work at solving those problems. And you know, sometimes when you hear about the world problems, you realize how insignificant your problems are. And I think that that's something that has to be kept in context for anybody, whether it be in business or in married life or family life. I think, you know, there are ups and downs, there are good days and bad days, and you can't let any one thing stop you.
That's amazing advice. And I agree that you have to really believe in the relationship and marriage because it's a mutual effort. And I think one thing the younger generation that they got it wrong, when I was having this conversation with a few people, I realized that with it, they always imagine their perfect version will be the other side, but then none of even they are not there yet. They're expecting someone who's perfect, waiting there, dressed, and say, "Hey, come, let's marry." It's impossible. It's about not perfection, but it's more about that person is patient with you. You mentioned about your wife was so patient with you. Like this guy's not mature enough yet, but I believe that he will become the man that I'm gonna marry, the man that I can trust. And yeah, I think it's really about that faith in each other. And yeah, that's a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, before you go, I want to ask you also, have you ever considered to write a book for the next generations and for your children, grandchildren, to leave some stories behind?
On occasion, I mean, you know, I'm a big fan of the theater and the ballet and the opera, and I always kind of thought I'd like to write a play of some kind. Maybe I'll make a play about my life. How about that?
That's cool.
I'll
That's
have-
something I'm very interested about.
I'll hire Brad Pitt to play me.
You can play you can play your latest version from beginning, and then you're the latest version sitting there,
Absolutely.
the current version.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to write a book, but you know, I'm so busy at the office. I mean, I'm working harder now than I probably worked 15 years ago.
Wow.
So I'm still having fun,
So
but I have less time.
working hard is definitely the key to your success. People always think that everything comes so easily, but there's a lot of things behind the scenes and below the iceberg that they don't see. So guys, work harder. You will never regret. And I want to give to you this book that I think definitely you are an amazing thought leader. So I want to give this to you as a gift.
What?
And
Well,
I hope
thank
you will be on the next book.
Well, how nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
I have
Brad.
to have your autograph.
Yeah, I will. Thank you.